Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to Till's Tell Stories for Saturday night. The title of this week's video is Dreaming of the Sleepless. I adapted this story from the translation by Tuvia Natkin, a former long-term resident of Sfat and an old friend, of the book of stories about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Our Man in Dakar, worth getting, from the Hebrew original, V'Rabim Heshiv Malvon, by Rabbi Arendov Halpern, the editor of Kfar Chabad magazine, where the stories all first appeared. Okay, once during a plane trip, Rabbi Chaim Tzvi Schwartz remarked to his seatmate, a Chabad chassid, I myself am a Munkacher chassid, not a Chabadnik, but I'm most certainly a follower of the Lubavitcher Rebbe also. His association with the Rebbe began in 1946-47. A Holocaust survivor, he had reached America completely alone. Knowing of the closeness between the Munkacher Rebbe and the Rebbe Rayatz, the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Schneerson, he decided to meet with the latter as soon as he arrived in New York. I came to the Rebbe, he told his travel companion, and my heart pulled out all of my experiences. I asked for his blessing and his guidance in choosing my life's path. The Rebbe gave me his blessing and advised me to meet his young son-in-law, the Ramash, as he was called then, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, the Ramash, as he was called then, to discuss my future. The Ramash counseled me to go to Brazil. Many Jews were there, he said, and he expected that before long a sizable influx of Holocaust survivors would arrive, with practically no Jewish education to speak of, and it would be wise to help establish Jewish schools, proper Jewish schools. And that's what I did. You could write a whole book on my adventures in that far-off land. Thank God I followed the Rebbe's advice and opened a school that succeeded in strengthening many Jews in Torah and mitzvahs. Over the years, I of course maintained close contact with the Ramash, who had meanwhile become the new Rebbe. Though I kept my connection to Munkach, I was definitely a follower of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the new Lubavitcher Rebbe, a true man of God. Through him I had the privilege of playing a part in many miracles, events matching the stories of the Baal Shem Tov. If we meet again, I could spend whole days and nights telling them. Listen to this one, he said to his seatmate. Rabbi Chaim Tzvi Schwartz is a highly successful educator in Brazil and a Munkacher chassid, and he's published a number of books about the Munkacher Rebbe, Rabbi Chaim Elazar Shapiro, the author of Minchas Eliezer. A student of mine, Rabbi Schwartz began, once came to me after school to say that his parents wanted to see me urgently. I told him I would be happy to meet them at my home that evening. Walking through the front door without a word, the mother burst into tears. Her daughter had become close to a Gentile, and now she was talking about marrying him. Nothing, I say, changes her mind. If she goes ahead with this, our lives won't be worth living, she blurted. Look, you are a rabbi and the principal of our son's school. Please, could you help? Maybe you can influence her. I agreed, and that evening called to invite her to talk. Not interested in my offer, she slammed the phone down. So I called again, and so too, she slammed the phone again. I didn't give up. The next day, I got her address from her parents and went in person. Not brazen enough to close the door on me, she told me to come in. I explained not only the gravity of her actions, but also the utter misery she was causing her parents. None of my words reached her. I left empty-handed 2 hours later. I decided to contact the Rebbe. I called Rabbi Hadakov, the Rebbe's senior private secretary, and a close acquaintance of mine, and told him the problem. I requested that he ask the Rebbe what I should do. Rabbi Hadakov told me to wait on the line, and a few minutes later he answered, the Rebbe said that you should tell the young woman that there is a Jew in New York who is unable to sleep at night because of her desire to marry a non-Jew. I didn't understand at first what he meant, and asked Rabbi Hadakov for the Jew's name. Then I heard the Rebbe's voice. He must have been listening on an extension. His name is Mendel Schneerson. That was the end of the conversation. I was stunned. Yet I thought to myself, why should she care if a Jew in New York couldn't sleep? The telephone rang in the middle of these musings. It was Rabbi Hadakov. Rabbi asked me to tell you two things. First, a shliach should carry out his mission in good faith and trust, not with doubts. Second, you can tell her that she is well acquainted with the Jew in New York, who is not sleeping at nights because she wants to marry the non-Jew. Naturally, I was floored and eager to see her again. I went at once to her home, but she was away. I left a note with my phone number that I needed to meet with her urgently. When she called the next morning, I said I had something important to tell her. She was wary, probably another attempt to browbeat her. After convincing her it was vital, she consented to see me later that day. At our meeting, I repeated the exact content of the Rebbe's message. There is a Jew in New York who is unable to sleep at night because of your desire to marry a non-Jew. That's ridiculous. Ooh, she said. The Lubavitcher Rebbe. This is why you called me, she raged. This is the urgent matter? Who is this Lubavitcher Rebbe? What difference does it make to me? He says, you know him. No, I don't know him. You most certainly do. If the Rebbe said so, then you know him. What does he look like? She asked. I showed her the small photo of the Rebbe that I had with me. Seeing it, she turned white. For 2 nights I've been seeing this person. He comes to me in my dreams, pleading with me not to marry my boyfriend. I didn't attach any significance to it. I assumed it was just the upshot of all your nagging. You can rest assured, Rabbi Schwartz concluded his story, that in the end, the young woman did not marry the non-Jew. And God willing, all of us should have good news, not just this week, but to the end of the year and the next year, and with Mashiach. Shavua Tov.